There certainly are, but it's going to take a very careful inspection, and it's going to take someone who's experienced in using these techniques. I probably wouldn't do a good job inspecting my own house just because I'm so familiar with it, or I think I am, that I'm going to look past the signs of termite damage. But let me give you an example of something they ought to be doing on an inspection. They should take a flashlight and go along the sheetrock, the wallboard in your house, and point it at an angle along your wall very carefully. And what they're looking for are slight imperfections in the paint that indicate a ridge or a valley under the paint. And what that indicates is that termites have tunneled up between the paint and the plaster and the sheetrock, and they've eaten that sheetrock paper. And that's an indication that they've tunneled in those walls. So you can do that yourself, for example, but most people don't have the patience for it. They don't have the aptitude. They don't have the tools.
So it's really better just to make sure that your termite company is performing.
Right. And you're going to need that service anyway. So you're paying somebody to provide it. What your time needs to be spent doing is making sure they're providing you the inspection you deserve.
Yeah, good deal. Time for our second break. As we head to break, a reminder that we'd love to hear from you. Chime in on our conversation tonight. Call, text, email. Also find the Term of Hollis right on Facebook and Twitter. Stay tuned. More coming up.
I'm Josh Wright with the law firm of Hollis Wright. If you've ever served on a jury, you may have wondered why there are gaps in the evidence you're given at trial. In today's Legal 4-in-1, we're answering the question, is there insurance to pay the verdict? Know this, just because the lawyers never mention insurance in a trial, it doesn't mean there is not insurance to pay the verdict. Rule 4-in-1 of the Alabama Rules of Evidence states this: evidence that a person was or was not insured against liability is generally not admissible or allowed to be discussed at trial in front of the jury. The reason for the rule is simple. A jury could award more money in a case if they knew the defendant had insurance to pay for it. But the reality in our state is this: in almost all lawsuits that get to a trial, insurance is there to pay judgments awarded by the jury. For example, all automobiles in Alabama are required to have liability insurance. Coverage can range from $25,000 up to $1 million in these cases. In theory, all car crash cases that get to trial should have insurance available to pay any verdict awarded in the case. Trucks have to carry anywhere from $750,000 to $5 million worth of insurance. Unfortunately, you'll never hear that during the trial. Even in medical malpractice cases, the doctor has liability insurance to help pay a judgment. That's something you won't hear during trial because the rules just don't allow that testimony. Yet almost all judgments against a doctor involve liability insurance. Please remember, your call, email, or text to the attorneys is free. All of us at Hollis Wright want to help answer your questions on real issues you face. Remember, a competent lawyer will respond to every question you send in. That's our promise and pledge to you. Thanks for watching The Attorneys right here on Alabama's 13.
Hard to believe that little old termite can cause billions of dollars in damage. Welcome back in to The Attorneys. Appreciate you being with us. Our final segment here, so just a few minutes remaining. Go ahead and get those questions in to us. Here with Tom Campbell. Tom's got more props.
Tom's got props. So we were talking at the break, Tom, about the amount of damage that they could do. You brought some wood with us. Show us what we're talking about. I mean, how bad does this really get?
I did. This piece of wood right here probably weighs less than an ounce. I personally pulled this out of the crawl space in a home just a couple of weeks ago, and what's falling out of it, if you can see it right here, it's just full of what's called frass from powder post beetles. This piece of wood had termite damage, powder post beetle damage in it, and wood rot all in the same piece of wood. This piece of wood, you can go under there. Somebody was supposed to tap on this with a hammer or a screwdriver, and they claimed this house had no damage. I mean, literally, you know, it's just It's completely
brittle.
destroyed. I mean, it weighs about as much as a feather.
What y'all probably can't see, just the viewer probably can't see this detail, but when Tom popped that, there's a cloud of dust. I mean, it's literally like the wood just disintegrated around us. In fact, he's wearing most of it on his suit. It is a mess. I mean, is that typical of the kind of damage you see in these cases, or is that a pretty extreme case?
That's an extreme
Okay.
case, both in terms of the extent of damage, the fact that it's got 3 different species of wood-destroying organism damage in it, and by the fact that virtually the entire crawl space of this house looked like that. And the termite inspection company issued a perfectly clear report on it, said there was no sign of past or current wood-destroying organism infestation in it.
How do the cases come to you? I mean, I guess by the time they get to you, something has collapsed, or because those little old bugs inside, you can't see it. So at what point, whenever they come to you, what are the problems they're running into?
Usually, and that's one reason we're doing the show right now. A lot of times people will have a swarm of termites in their house, and that's what causes them to think they have a problem. They call their company, maybe they start inspecting their home themselves.
Right.
They find a small problem. They ask the termite company to fix it. They have a hunch that they're getting the runaround. And the people that usually come to me have gone to another lawyer, and that lawyer says, I think, believe it or not, there's some people that specialize in this. And somebody makes 5 or 6 calls and they find out I'm that guy,
Right.
and we wind up talking to them about the case. Or they go on the internet and they do a web search about termite damage and wind up calling us.
Tom, just because we don't practice in this area, it's one of the reasons I was glad to have you on, but I mean, what kind of damages are you talking about? Obviously, you've got damage to the home, you've got some fraud claims related to the service that's provided, but what claims are you asserting in these kind of cases, and where's the recovery coming from?
You've got 3 types of damage. You've got injury to the property, you've got emotional distress damages to the homeowner, and you've got punitive damages, if appropriate, to punish the company if we prove they're engaged in a pattern of wrongdoing or really gross wrongdoing. And the injury to the property is usually either the cost of repairing it or the diminished value of the home, which is ordinarily more than the cost of repairs, but sometimes it's less. Sometimes it costs more money to repair the house even than it's worth. And that happens a lot with older homes that have depreciated.
A question we've got here. I bought a home 3 months ago. I was told it was free of termite damage. My husband just found significant damage in our crawl space. Who all can be held responsible to fix the damage?
When people come to us, they want to sue everybody involved in the transaction.
Right.
The seller, the real estate agent, the termite company. Usually we wind up only making a claim against the termite company unless we have clear evidence of intentional fraud by the seller
Right.
and the real estate company. Oftentimes they've been kept in the dark and they didn't know anything about it too. Or even if they did, for example, the seller doesn't have any money to pay the claim
Right.
anyway.
Yeah. Just time enough for a final thought. So we'll start, Tom, with you. Final thought on tonight's subject.
Don't bury your head in the sand.
Right.
One of the things that termite companies depend upon is that they're going to tell you your problem is small, and they know that's what you want to hear, and they tell you that, and you say, good, thank goodness, it's just a baseboard.
Right.
And really your entire wall needs to be torn out, and you've got a claim that's tens of thousands of dollars in damage, and if you don't investigate it and bring it, the statute of limitations run,
Right.
and you have to pay it all on your dime.
Yeah, Josh, how about you?
Well, I mean, we talked about this before. Ignorance, it doesn't just extend to our viewing populace.
Yeah.
I think you and I've said this.
We do.
I feel more educated now, and I feel like this is an area I didn't know a lot about. I need to be more diligent. We all need to be more vigilant, and certainly an area that we need to really learn what our rights are.
And I've also learned, call Tom.
Call Tom.
Call Tom.
Call Tom.
Tom's got it, yeah, for sure. Ways you can get in touch with Tom, right through the numbers that you're going to see here. They'll put you right in touch with him. We appreciate you being with us. Call, text, email. Find the firm of Hollis Wright on Facebook and Twitter as well. Appreciate your time, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks for watching The Attorneys, sponsored by the law firm of Hollis Wright.